Welcome back to the 12-month video game repair challenge. This is episode 13.
Oh yeah. Feels good to be finally done with the challenge. Can't believe it's almost been a month already. It's crazy. Oh, you guys are still here? Done. It's finished. Completed. There's nothing else to do. Oh, I see. You want me to do one more bonus episode because I've got 47 hours left. All right, I'll do one more. One more bonus episode because I like you guys. Where's my cookies? That's it though, no more. I'm gonna eat my cookies after I get done with this challenge. That's it. All right, let's get some more stuff fixed. But first, let me change real quick. One second. All right, much better. Well, it's good to be back for another video. I took the entire month of December off for the holidays and everything else, and we've got 47 more hours to go through in this challenge. So let me go over the rules real quick, and then we'll jump into the repairs. Wait, who am I kidding? You guys know all the rules. I'll just skip this part. If you're new here, start at this video right here. You might actually really like this series. But for everybody else, let's jump right into the repairs. All right, I found this giant ball of controllers online. Let me open it up and show you what I found. And here we go. So supposedly, all of these are non-working or broken in some way, but I find that hard to believe. This many controllers, there's no way everybody tested them. And I mean, look at all the Wii controllers. This is crazy. But we got PS3, we got PS2, Xbox, Xbox 360. That one has actually one with the transforming D-pad on there, so that'll be kind of interesting to take a look at. And yeah, so I don't remember how much I picked these up for. I'll show that right here. I want to say it was like 50, 60 bucks. Crazy deal for 50, 60 bucks. But I'll have to test through some of these and see what I see. I'm gonna guess there's going to be some good ones though. All right, just got 2 new consoles in to fix up, and I don't know what the problems are, but let me get them opened up and I'll show you. And there we are. So it was a Xbox 360 black version, but it has a 20 gigabyte hard drive, and it doesn't look like it's been opened before, which is interesting. Might have to check the front, but we'll have to see what the issue is with this one specifically. Maybe there's nothing wrong with it. I have no idea. Both of these were untested apparently from the seller, but I think it was only about 40 bucks. I'll put it on the screen right here. So they weren't too expensive. And this one, it's just really dirty, which I'm pretty used to. It came with a little dongle there, but it hasn't been opened yet. And it is an older model, but odds are this one might be pretty easy to fix as well. So we'll check this one out as well as the Xbox 360 and see what happens. As luck would have it, I was trying to replace the drive band in this unit and lost hold of it, and it bounced inside. Now I have to open it up to get it in place properly. You know, I was just going to take out the band that was in there, but once I opened this up and saw how nasty this is inside, I have to blow it out. I just have to. I can't leave this. It's so bad. And so much better. Now I feel way better about this. And there it is. Now to get it back in place. I tested this unit again and it worked great, so I cleaned it up and posted it for sale shortly after. No matter what I did with this one, I just couldn't get it to eject, which could mean the drive band is bad like the first one, or there's other issues with the front console buttons. Again, very dusty. So after cleaning it up, I lubed the drive tray extra well and swapped the larger Thompson band on the drive motor too. Hopefully that'll keep this unit running for years to come. Or not. Well, sadly, this one ejects now, but it just won't play discs. So that's disappointing. We've seen this issue before. Hopefully its disk drive is good though, since I have a bunch of units without good drives. Bad caps and very dirty. A great combination. Well, it's dark out and lightly snowing, but duty calls and this unit needs some dust removal. I actually had 2 units in a row with bad mainboard caps, and I took the opportunity to swap both of them out back to back.
Thankfully, both of the disk drives are working in these too. Sadly, I couldn't get this unit's drive working, but I was able to fix the power button issues by bypassing the rotted traces with some magnet wire. This is becoming a more common fix than I'd like it to be. Hopefully that's not a sign for issues to come for these units in the far future. I thought this one was going to be more of the same issues, but nope, something different.
Wow, okay. I don't know what this black stuff is on the console, but the entire thing is sealed with it. It took me 10 minutes just to open up this Xbox, because it's just everywhere. Even on the inside edges, like it's just all over the place. So I guess we'll find out what it is, but maybe not, I don't know.
This black stuff was all over everything and managed to seal all of the parts in place, and it was really hard to separate them.
Well, this is what the inside looks like. This stuff is everywhere. All in the heat sinks, all over the power supply. And I have no idea what it is, because it's not sticky, it's not slick like oil, it's dry, and it just got over everything. I'm guessing that's probably one of the problems why this unit isn't working as well as it should.
Let's see if I can do something about this. It didn't work super well, but at least I got a bulk of whatever this stuff is off the motherboard. This also explains why the disk drive wasn't ejecting and the front buttons weren't working either. I took apart both and did a deep clean of all the parts until it seemed to be moving a lot better. Not all the staining would go away, but a vast majority of it would during cleaning.
Alright, it's not great, but it's better than it was.
And after testing it again, it was working like a charm. I was able to swap in a new band into this unit, but it still wasn't working right. The tray was trying to eject, but it just couldn't for some reason. Well, I found two reasons for this. First off, the unit was dirty, but what else is new? The larger issue with the dust and debris is it seems to have soaked up all the lube on the disc tray and all the sliding parts, which means it's bone dry. So when it was trying to eject, it just wasn't going anywhere because there was just too much friction holding it in place. The other issue is this little tab being broken. This holds the slide mechanism in place for raising and lowering the laser assembly. It was slightly out of place because it wasn't fully seated, which caused even more friction, and it stopped it from functioning altogether. Hopefully with the extra lube in place and having this part fully seated now, it will prevent any further jams. And it did. I tried it out several times and it was working great. Amazing what a little cleaning and lube can do for these units. But after all the cleaning, fixes, and testing, I still came back to one continuing issue. The lack of functional disk drives to pair with functional systems. I have a lot of extra systems, but no way of completing them without more good drives. So I inquired about some help with that. I made a local friend who mods Xbox systems, and he has a pile of good working drives available. He removes them in favor of using a much larger, upgraded hard drive with all of the games you'll ever need pre-installed on it. No need for a disk drive, and then mod chip the system so it doesn't need to be present for it to function either. So I proposed a trade. I trade him 3 working systems and he gives me 2 working disk drives. In total, I was able to trade 6 of my fixed systems for 4 of his working disk drives. And after some cleaning, they were all installed and ready to go. I still have another 5 to 6 units that need good drives that I may end up addressing at some point, but at least this purchased 10 total units that would have been just collecting dust otherwise. I'm pretty happy about the trade, and we'll probably do more in the future too. Or maybe I'll finally look into modding my own systems, but I have limited time in this challenge. So it's not an immediate need, but I'm thinking that'll be a future project at some point. Speaking of projects, if you have one of your own to build, you should check out PCBWay, which is the sponsor of this repair series. PCBWay.com is a printed circuit board manufacturer that provides a wide variety of options for prototyping and assembly. Their online store combined with their shared projects section offers thousands of potential projects to work on. There are so many neat and surprisingly useful projects featured here that I'm sure anyone at any skill level will find something they will enjoy. PCBWay doesn't only make PCBs though. They also offer a full range of 3D printing services as well as CNC machining to fulfill any electronic project's needs. I'd like to thank PCBWay for sponsoring this series, and you should check out PCBWay.com for all your printed circuit board needs. Now back to the repairs. What I do need immediately is more Xbox controllers though. I ran out again and I picked up a small lot to fix up and put with the remaining good systems I have. Most of these have cord issues, and that is for sure something I know how to fix. Got all the new cords swapped in and replaced the thumbsticks where needed too. Only one controller wasn't working properly, and it's the same issue I ran into from episode 2. It just will not connect.
Well, there's one controller that just doesn't want to be fixed apparently. I probed it a bunch of times, couldn't find anything wrong, and yeah, it just won't connect at all. I try to hit start, and
It doesn't do anything. That's disappointing. But it does smell like burning electronics. So maybe there's something that shorted out on here that I just can't see. I'm not really sure, but unfortunately I think this one will go into the scrap pile for now, because I can't find anything wrong with it, except for the burning smell. Oh well, moving on to the 360 controllers in the batch. Alright, going through some old stuff. Out of 9 Xbox 360 controllers, 4 of them are good, and 5 of them need some stuff. This one actually is working, it just needs new sticks, so technically it's 5 that are all good, and maybe this one will be good once I clean it up, because it's pretty dirty, but let's just say at least 4 need some kind of work, so let's jump in. This red one is the easiest to fix out of everything, so I might as well just get that out of the way real quick. New sticks, now it's looking great. This one for sure needs sticks, but unsurprisingly also needs some heavy cleaning inside too. Look at all the debris that popped out of this thing. Just nasty. But the battery terminal was also a little rusty, so I scraped at that with a knife and buffed the rest with a scratch pen. It seemed to work pretty well, even though it took a while to get the inside clean. Now I just need to clean the outside. Heavily, I might add. Another one with a rusty battery terminal. Same as before, scrape, buff, clean. It came clean and was working much better. I added another pair of new sticks and dropped it into the cleaning bin. Another battery terminal that's rusty, and why is it always on the right side? But before I jump into that, let's see about the other issue first. This I don't know if I can fix without some new parts. Controller's still functional, but the first part of the ring light doesn't work. And it looks like it has some corrosion too. I'll clean that and reheat the solder points just to see if that fixes it up. Nope. Well, I guess I'll hold this one just in case I get another one that I can use for scrap parts. Oh yeah, the Google AI one. That stick is 100% broken inside. Oh yeah. I swapped in a new stick assembly, and after I knew it was working, I transferred the old potentiometers onto the new stick off camera. The old ones just work and feel better, so save them if you can. I also cleaned up the bumper buttons on this one since they weren't very responsive either. The original thumbsticks were still in good shape, so those got popped back in place as well. After getting through these, I went through the PlayStation controllers to test them, but I never got around to fixing anything. I guess time got away from me again. Oh well, the 4 on the left were working, and I didn't bother to do anything with the PS4 controllers at all. The remaining 4 went into the fix later bin, and I moved on to some other controllers. I had 2 N64 controllers with bad sticks that I had completely forgotten about. I had also remembered that I had bought some replacement Hall effect sticks for these from XYAB and wanted to test those out. This is one of the easiest swaps because it's just a drop-in part. Just remove the outer housing screws and pry out your old stick, which is looking pretty worn and also full of oil, maybe? Once you drop your new stick in place, seal it up and you're done. One of the easiest fixes you'll ever do. I also cleaned the insides just to make sure everything was working great when they were reassembled, but man, I do love these sticks. They not only look good, but they also feel good too. Still have some cleaning to do on the outside, but these were working great when I was done. Speaking of something easy, I figured why not get rid of this real quick too. The little vent parts broke off and went inside of the console and you can't get them out. Well, a couple of screws later and we've captured the noisemakers. I don't know if I can consider this a true fix, but I did anyway. And it's funny because it sold right away too. I guess someone just needed some good guts to swap into a better housing. I picked up 3 more GameCubes and wanted to see if the last few were a fluke from this challenge since both were repaired. These all have issues with reading discs, and I happen to have 3 more capacitor kits to replace them too. Replacing these same caps on an Xbox disk drive seems to be much more hit or miss, so let's see if this might be a more consistent fix with GameCubes. The only drawback to GameCube units is all the screws. I don't know why, but Nintendo really likes the screws. Every unit they make seems to have too many. But once they're all out, the circuit board that controls the disk drive is found buried deep inside. These kits are all surface-mounted versions of the same caps, and I used the list from the Console 5 Tech Wiki to get all the placements correct for them. I cut off all the old caps first and cleaned up the board with some IPA, and then added some new solder to each of the cap pads. Then added back each of the caps until the entire board was done. Did a quick reassembly and cleaned the laser eye just before testing it out. And nothing. No movement at all. Maybe I need to adjust the potentiometer for the laser itself. Some online sources say these should be set between 450 to 600 ohms. Others state that it should be around 150 to 300, but it all depends on your unit and the model. I tweaked this one all over the place and repeatedly tested it without it reading any discs at all. Too bad too. The only good thing here is I already have one board recapped, so I was just able to swap out this same board into the next console. The only difference is the laser settings. I made sure to note the old laser pot settings on the current board and tweak the new board to the same settings after install. This way I know it's at least close to its original settings. And this one's starting right up. I did some minor cleaning and reassembled the housing so I can move on to the next one. I did the same process again and replaced all the caps on the next board too. And once again, it started right up. Pretty awesome. One thing to note is I purposely put these out of their original range that they were in so they wouldn't spin at all. As I reduced or increased the pot settings, it would slowly spin more until it reached its original sweet spot. So if you don't see any movement from the spindle after replacing the caps, play around with the laser settings. If at one point it starts to spin but it still won't read discs, you know that you're at least close to the ohms that you need in order for that unit to function. You can continue adjusting it until you get it just right. I went ahead and replaced the clock batteries on these two good units before closing them up and listing them for sale. So based on the 5 of these units that I've done so far, 4 have turned out good with new caps. 80% success rate is pretty great, so I'll be sure to do more of these in the future. Speaking of cap replacements, this was a question from one of my subscribers, Sai8646. Sai had found another video discussing cap replacements on PS1 Slim units to get the disk drives working again, and left a comment on an older challenge video to see if that might work on more, so I tried it out. I have 4 PS1 Slims to work on, and 2 are from previous episodes ago that had bad disk drives. In the other video in question, the guy only replaces 1 cap on the board and it started working again. So I picked up a few cap kits for these units and wanted to put that to the test. I swapped out the single small cap near the front and tested what I thought was the bad laser assembly again. Alright, the PS1 is booted up. Now, let's see. Oh, this is a good sign. Oh, what? It's 1 capacitor replaced. Look at that. What? Oh, I gotta try it on the other ones now. Shockingly, it was working great. So I swapped in the other unit's laser assembly, however it didn't work at all. But good to know that this can be a quick test to see if your laser is the issue or the board is. I ended up replacing all the caps on the first PS1 and will save this unit to act as a tester for any other future units. Anytime I get one that isn't reading discs, at least I'll know if it's the laser or the board that's the problem now. The other 2 units left had other random issues. The first was really easy. It just had a lid spring that popped out of place and had a sticky lid button. That was fixed quickly with some grease on the inside. I made a quick fix video about it too if you're interested in the full process. The last one wasn't getting any power, and I figured it could either be the switch or the power connector itself. So I heated both of those spots and retested it again, but nothing powered on. I poked and probed the board a bit more to see if something wasn't connecting, but assumed it was either the chip that was the issue or bad caps. Since I wanted to save some time, I tested the laser assembly in my recap unit instead, and it worked right away. So that got dropped into the second non-working unit, and I turned it into a fully working model again. Nice to have these finished. But now on to another old project. PS3 consoles. When I left these, they either needed some new power supplies or a Delid to solve the yellow light of death and overheating issues. Well, I'm glad I waited and did some more research because I found this little tool on Amazon for helping with this exact process. And if you need a full explanation and tutorial on how to do a PS3 Delid, you should check out RIP Felix's channel. He has a fabulous video breakdown on everything, and I highly recommend checking it out if you want to do this yourself. I wasn't really relishing the thought of making my own tool to pop the IHS lid off, so thankfully I found this. It is a bendable tipped razor blade that is meant to fit into the tight spots for the D-lid without damaging the CPU in the process. I have 1 backwards compatible unit that overheats and 2 other newer units with various other issues. This means I have some practice runs I can perform before doing anything with the backwards compatible model, and that's exactly what I did. My hope is to fix them all, but if I can just get the backwards compatible unit fixed, that's really all I care about. I've always wanted one of these, and here's my chance. So I started the painful process of disassembly on the first unit. I already had it mostly apart for the end of the last video, but getting the motherboard out of these units is a real pain. Lots of screws and basically everything needs to come out of the housing for it to be loose. First thing I noticed is the thermal paste is bone dry too. Lots of cleaning and paper towel later, I had the thermal paste removed from the heat sinks and the IHS lids. Now to test out the new tool. Will it work easily, and is it a good alternative to making your own? First off, you need to heat up the IHS to soften the silicone sealant on the edges. I'm using a heat gun for about a minute, and that seemed to help a lot. Then slide the cutting tool carefully into the void at the front of the CPU and slowly cut around the edges without pushing too hard into the center, since you don't want to damage it either. Overall, this wasn't really hard at all. You need some good hand strength, and the tool leaves a very clean cut, but the lid will just pop right off. Next is additional cleaning. Everything needs to be cleaned really well, so all of the excess silicone and dried out thermal paste needs to be removed from the CPU and the lid. I used my plastic spudger tool to scrape away the silicone and some IPA with some cotton swabs to remove the debris. Be prepared to be here for a bit because this took a long while. There's still a little residue left over, but that's okay. I got a majority of it. Now the second nerve-wracking part. Add in the new pastes and clamping down the lid so it cures well. I picked up some MX4 thermal paste and some gasket maker to replace these exactly how I found them. It seemed to work pretty well. I clamped down the lid and made sure the bracelet underneath so nothing would be damaged and let it sit for at least 24 hours to cure. While I was waiting for that to cure, I moved on to the next 2 units. Once I had the first one under my belt, the next one seemed to go much faster. By the time I did the backwards compatible console, I was pretty confident in how the process worked and set everything out to dry and cure for at least 24 hours before touching them again. While I was waiting for that, I figured why not see about cleaning this SNES unit. It turns on, but it just doesn't play any games. It could be some dreaded CPU issues or a dirty pin connector. I was hoping it was just a dirty pin connector, and I popped it open for some cleaning. Unsurprisingly, it had a lot of dust inside, and I got it all removed before looking closer at the main connector. Sure enough, it has a little spot of corrosion on the bottom. I cleaned it up with some picks and a scratch pen before deep cleaning all of the pins in the connector on the main board. Then I got it reassembled for testing. And nothing, but that's okay. I haven't had much luck with these units anyway. Turns on. Still got a black screen, so I'm done with this one. Well, now back to the PS3s. The first unit I must have bumped into and didn't realize it, so the lid was a little wonky, but it was still in place enough for reassembly. The second unit was looking much better, and the third unit was the best so far. Time to put them back together for testing. First up is the one that didn't turn on to begin with. I didn't think a Delid would fix it at all, and of course it didn't. I'll need to look into getting a new power supply for this, but it was a good test subject for the Delid process. The second one has the yellow light of death, so this could have fixed it. Well, nope, I guess not. Now the last one, the El Presidente, the big kahuna, the final boss. This one would overheat so quickly before that it didn't even have enough time to load up the splash screen. And the fans sounded like a jet engine. Everything has been cleaned and blown out in addition to the Delid process too. So the big question, will it work? Ooh, that's a good sign. It turns on. And the fan's still running at a normal speed too. And it can play a PS3 game without missing a beat. And it can play a PS2 game without any issues as well. This is looking good. And it's dead. The yellow light of death. Well, back to the drawing board. I'll need to do some more research, and maybe I can check out some more RIP Felix videos for some answers. Unfortunately though, I'm running out of time. Rather than spend any more time on PS3s, let's finish up a few Game Gears before my 47 hours are up. I can't end on a failure, and I know at least one of these units I can get working. And I wasn't wrong. Actually, both units turned out well, so that brings the total items repaired in this video to 26. Not bad, and just in time to hit the 47 hour mark too.
Alright, so now it's truly done. I did 365 hours worth of repairs in a little over a year, but who's counting? Out of those 365 hours, I've been able to fix 272 total items. I think that's pretty good considering a good chunk of that time was spent just doing research on how to fix some of the items that I had no idea what to do with. I've also gotten another $2,500 in sales, and here are some of the items that are larger that sold during that time. Just sold this Xbox for about 140 bucks. Finally sold the Coca-Cola Game Gear for about 275 bucks with the game as well. Just sold this NES console with Mario Duck Hunt for about 92 bucks. Finally sold this N64 bundle for about 70 bucks. Well, this one sold quick. This went for about 120 bucks and it has a new band in it. Just sold Kirby's Dream Land for about 19 bucks and this controller for about 27. Just sold this Clear Ice Game Boy for about 85 bucks. Alright, just sold this Xbox bundle for about 110. And this Dragon's Lair Game Boy cartridge for about 15. Just sold a Xbox 360 controller with replaced thumbsticks for about 20 bucks. And a reshelled Game Boy Color for about 110. Sold this DS Lite for 60-ish. Sold this Game Boy for about 65. Game Gear for 120. And another Game Gear for 120. Out of that 2,500, I made another 1,700 in profit, which that's not too bad. I've also sold some of the old items that I've had sitting around for almost a year now, since the beginning of this challenge. That's pretty great. But now, do you know what time it is? Now it's time to go back outside and enjoy the snow and some more cookies. When did it get so brown? Yeah, at least it's snowing. Cookies make it better too. Alright, I'm happy I went back and finished out these last 47 hours just to see what was really possible.
I updated the final totals to reflect the new numbers, which is roughly 14 months of data. Not exactly 1 full year, but I'm still thrilled to have done so well in this challenge. Thanks for coming along in this journey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.